Hunger is a plague that has always afflicted human beings. Finding a stable food source accessible to everyone is the main challenge for humankind. The aim of this dissertation is to show the root causes of world hunger and strategic solutions of affected countries and organizations created to deal with this scourge. The main root cause of hunger is poverty, the unequal distribution of wealth around the world, which prevents people from having access to food, even in areas where there is plenty of it. Land grabbing, that is, acquisitions or concessions of land in violation of human rights, not based on the consent of the land users, not based on social participation or that are in disregard of environmental impacts, is a further cause of world hunger. In fact, this phenomenon implies land concentration in the hands of multinationals, which exclude the local population from production processes or employ land users in conditions akin to slavery. The establishment of monocultures has starved many agricultural countries. These countries receive low income from the sale of monoculture produce, and when they have to buy food for their population, they lack financial resources and people suffer from food insecurity. The change in land use to produce biofuels leads to the increase in food prices. Circumstantial and structural famines provoke food shortage. The former is caused by natural or artificial disasters that destroy the economic and social system of a country. The latter is determined by chronic lack of food due to a country's underdevelopment. Climate change, desertification, deforestation, increase in natural catastrophes, droughts, excessive environmental exploitation and soil erosion are factors that drastically reduce food production capacity throughout the world and cause long-term food insecurity. Today, in the world, there are 790 million undernourished people. Undernutrition causes 7 million cases of blindness every year. It's the main cause of child mortality in the world and can lead to disabilities such as rickets or underdeveloped brain functions. With the 2000 UN Millennium Summit, the international community pledged to halve the percentage of the poor, of hungry people, and of people who don't have access to fresh water by 2015. These targets, known as Millennium Development Goals, have been achieved by 79 FAO member states, among which Brazil, Mexico and Angola, that were analyzed in this study. Although these three countries are different from one another, their strategies to eradicate hunger have many points in common. Brazil has a high production potential, but is seriously affected by land grabbing. Angola is recovering from 40 years of war. Life expectation doesn't exceed 50 years, and the majority of the population is illiterate. Mexico is developing, but many areas are under drug traffickers' control. However, Fome Zero program of Brazil, ENSAN of Angola, and Hunger Crusade of Mexico are based on the decentralization of implemented measures, such as income transfer, food supply, etc. Three strategies focus on the facilitation and promotion of household agriculture, which is essential to nourish the local population, on child assistance through school meal programs, production for self-consumption, job creation, food education, universal social protection, combating waste, and on civil society participation. The latter is a fundamental element to prevent corruption and marginalization of the most vulnerable groups. The WFP and FAO, two international organizations, were created to eradicate hunger. The UN Organization for Food and Agriculture aims at eliminating world hunger and food insecurity. The World Food Programme is the greatest humanitarian agency in the world. It intervenes in the event of emergencies to ensure food supplies and implements post-emergency programs to restore food security. Just like country strategies, these two organizations base their actions on the decentralization of implemented measures, on civil society participation, and on the sustainable use of natural resources. Their priorities are supporting the rural poor and smallholders, also in the case of natural or artificial emergencies. The analyzed countries and organizations focus on the creation of more inclusive and fair markets, on child assistance, and on allowance in return for the actions of beneficiaries. Last but not least, when implementing all these strategies, the fundamental role of women is always taken into consideration. They are considered the safest and fastest tools to achieve food security. These measures are essential to eradicate world hunger, but the international community has to take into account the exponential demographic growth of the last decades. Nourishing an increasing number of people requires further development of the agro-industry. This development should focus on sustainable development, social integration, production for self-consumption, food sovereignty, which is the right of every nation, and food quality. If all these aspects are taken into consideration and developed, humankind will still have time to reverse the trend and eliminate the greatest world scandal, hunger. In order to celebrate the topic of nutrition, this year the city of Milan hosted the Universal Exposition on the theme Feeding the Planet, Energy for Life. This event culminated in the Milan Declaration that has to be submitted to the UN Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon. This document is meant to be a contribution to the debate on nutrition and food that will start during the elaboration of the post-2015 agenda. In conclusion, I want to underline the fundamental role of interpreters and translators during the drafting of strategies and in information and knowledge exchange at international level that enables the international community to develop a common approach to eradicate undernutrition.